The space station floated above the green and golden planet of Veralia. This station was not just any outpost. It was a place where humans and aliens worked together to keep peace in the galaxy. Inside its large, shining walls, humans Valar, Sarlans, and many others shared knowledge, traded, held diplomatic talks. Commander Jason Hart was one of the first humans to be stationed here. He had served in the Terran Defense Fleet for 10 years before being chosen for diplomacy work. He was young when the galaxy first learned about intelligent alien life. Now, at 35, he had met more alien races than most humans ever would, but none of them amazed him as much as Saranavel. Sarana was from the Valari, beautiful and powerful race known for their telepathy and strong emotions, though they never showed those emotions in public. The Valari had silver-blue skin that shimmered under light and long, narrow eyes like polished crystal. Sarana had been a high-ranking diplomat for almost 2 decades. She was calm, controlled, and never raised her voice. People feared her, respected her, and admired her, but no one ever got close to her, except maybe Jason. He didn't know when it had started. Maybe it was during the peace mission on Solaran V, when she calmly talked down a group of angry mercenaries without using a weapon. Maybe it was during the food crisis on Mechari Station, when she spent her night helping frightened children, even though it wasn't her duty. Or maybe it was just the way she moved, graceful, serious, silent, like a wave gliding over still water. Jason had worked with her for 5 years now. At first he had admired her like everyone else. Then that admiration became interest. And finally, quietly, that interest grew into love, but he never said anything. Why would he? She was Saranavelt, the galaxy's iron diplomat, and he was just a human soldier who stumbled his way into politics. One afternoon, there was a diplomatic summit on the upper levels of the station. Several alien leaders were gathered to discuss border rights. The talks were tense. As Sarlan, Commander accused the humans of breaking an old agreement. Voices grew loud. Even a few weapons were drawn. Jason was ready to act, but before he moved, Sarana stepped forward. She spoke in a quiet, steady voice. Her words came out like music, soft but firm. Everyone listened. Even the angry Sarlan fell silent. Her eyes glowed faintly as she used a rare form of telepathic Kaminya, deep mental touch that was only taught to elite Valari mind speakers. Jason had read about it. It was dangerous. Using it too often could damage a Valari's mind. After a few minutes, the summit calmed down. Talks resumed peacefully. The crisis passed. Later, when the room was quiet again, Jason walked over to her. "You didn't have to use that technique," he said softly. "You risked too much." Sarana looked at him. Her face was expressionless as always, but her eyes seemed tired. "You were about to be harmed," she said. "I made a choice." Jason frowned. "To protect the peace?" "No," she said. Then after a pause, she added, "To protect you." He stared at her. Didn't understand. But before he could speak again, she walked away. That night, Jason couldn't sleep. He lay in his room, staring at the ceiling. The soft hum of the station filled the silence. Rana's words echoed in his mind. "To protect you?" Why did she say that? He remembered every little moment they had shared over the years. Her small glances, the way she stood closer to him than to others, the way her voice softened around him. Was it possible she felt something too? Or was he just hoping? Later, a new mission came up. A research base on a nearby moon had lost contact. It was likely a system failure, but they needed someone to check, because it was near Valari territory. They needed 1 Valari and 1 human to go. Jason and Sarana were chosen. The base was small and empty, no sign of danger. The two set up camp and began scanning systems. The repairs would take 4 to 5 days. The cruise shuttle had left them behind and would return after the job was done. Now, for the first time ever, they were truly alone. No station crew, no diplomats, no meetings, just the silence of a frozen moon and the stars above. The first night was quiet. They sat under the dome of the small observatory. The stars outside looked close enough to touch. Jason brewed Earth-style tea. He offered her a cup. She took it politely. Then, to his surprise, she smiled. A small one, but it was real. Your people have strange drinks, she said, and you still drink them. Jason replied with a grin. Her smile grew just a little. Then she looked out at the stars. You miss Earth? She asked. Every day, he replied. The food, the trees, the sky, my sister's dog. But here, it doesn't feel so far. Not anymore. She was quiet for a moment. I have never been to Earth, she said. You'd love it, he said. Bright places, loud people, so much emotion. She looked at him again, eyes curious. Do you think I could handle that? Jason hesitated. Then he answered, I think you'd fit in better than you think. The next day, they fixed the cum tower and restored some of the power systems. They worked side by side. Serana wasn't her usual cold self. She joked a few times, very softly. She even let her hair down during lunch, a small thing, but Jason had never seen her do that. That night, the sky was clear again. They sat in silence for a long time. Finally, Jason turned to her. I've loved you for years, he said. The words came out suddenly, like air escaping from a locked door. He didn't plan to say it. It just happened. Serana didn't move. She blinked once, then she laughed. Jason's heart stopped. Her laugh was soft, musical, almost like a song. He had never heard her laugh. No one had, you humans, she whispered, shaking her head slowly, always waiting until it's almost too late. Jason stared at her, confused. What do you mean? But she stood up without answering. I'm going to rest, she said calmly. We'll finish the core system tomorrow. Then she walked away, her silver blue hair glowing under the soft lights. Jason sat alone, stunned. What just happened? Why? Did she laugh? What did she mean? Did she feel something too? He didn't know, but now everything was changing, and tomorrow might bring more answers. Jason sat alone in the empty moon base. The silence was deep, broken only by the soft hum of the machines. The place felt colder now, like something warm had been taken from it. He stared at the spot where Serana had stood just moments ago. The transport beam had taken her away. The faint glow was gone. So was she. But Jason's decision was already made. He tapped his wrist communicator. The secret beacon he had activated earlier sent a quiet signal through the system. Minutes later, a hidden door on the far side of the base opened. A small, black stealth pod, no bigger than a room, slid out of the rocks and stopped beside him. This pod was a gift from an old mission, a reward from a grateful Sarlin captain. It was built with stealth tech, shield dampeners, and tracking avoidance. Systems. Not even the Volari would detect it easily. Jason climbed in, closed the hatch, and looked once more at the empty base behind him. I'm coming, Serana, he whispered. The pod moved fast. Silent as a shadow, it slipped past border patrols and entered Volari space. Jason had never been there before. Volari territory was quiet, vast, and beautiful. Their planet shimmered with light blue oceans, glowing forests, and floating crystal towers. It was like flying into a dream, but this dream was dangerous. If the Volari discovered him, he would be arrested, or worse. Outsiders were not welcome, especially not ones who followed a high diplomat taken in for emotional corruption. Jason followed. Serana's tracking signal. It was weak but still there. The pod guided him toward a cold, dark moon orbiting a massive gas giant. On the moon's surface was a Volari mind hall, a place where their most powerful minds were trained. Or broken. Jason landed on the far side of the moon, hidden beneath an ice cliff. He put on a dark suit and grabbed a small EMP pistol. It was not for fighting, just for distraction. He hoped he wouldn't have to use it. He moved carefully across the icy land. Finally reaching the tall black structure of the mind hall, the walls glowed faint blue. Strange energy fields shimmered around it. He saw no guards, only sensors. Jason waited, watched, then found a small maintenance door half covered in snow. Using a hacked key code from an old Volari datapad, He unlocked it and slipped inside. Inside. The air was warm and quiet. The halls were tall and smooth, lit with pale light from crystals in the walls. Strange echoes moved through the air, like soft voices or distant whispers. Jason moved silently through the corridors, checking every room. Then, Serana was in a small room, sitting on a platform, eyes closed. Two old Valari stood. Nearby, hands pressed against glowing panels. A soft blue light surrounded Serana's head. Jason's heart stopped. He recognized the scene. They were cleansing her mind. He didn't wait. He aimed his EMP pistol and fired at the wall panel. Sparks flew. The lights flickered. The glowing field around Serana faded. She gasped and opened her eyes. The two elders turned quickly, but Jason was already there. He ran to Serana, grabbed her hand, and whispered, "I told you I'd follow." Ours widened in shock. "Jason, what are you doing here?" "Saving you," he said. The elders raised their hands. Energy gathered between their palms. But before they could strike, Serana stood between them and Jason. "No," she said firmly. "Stop." The energy in their hands faded. "You have changed," one of the elders said. His voice was cold. "You are no longer Valari." I am more Valari now than I have ever been," Serana replied. Her voice trembled, but she didn't. "Back down. You taught us that feelings are weakness. But look at what they made me do. I protected a life. I felt love. I faced fear. That is not weakness." The elders looked at her in silence. Jason stood beside her. "Love gave her strength," he said. "Can't you see that?" The older of the two stepped forward. "She broke the ancient law." "Then change the law," Serana said, "or one day others will break it too." To Jason's surprise, the elders did not fight. Instead, they turned and walked away, disappearing through a glowing door. Serana sighed, her shoulders dropping. "They didn't stop us," Jason said. "Why? They fear change," she replied. "But they fear open rebellion more. If they hurt me, others might rise." Jason looked at her amazed. "You took a big risk." "So did you," she said, stepping closer. He reached out and held her hand. Her fingers wrapped around his again. "I thought I'd lost you," Jason whispered. "You almost did," she said, "but you didn't." They escaped the mind hall through the back corridor. Jason's pod was still hidden. They boarded quickly and launched before any alarms could sound. As they left the moon's orbit, Serana looked back at the small, cold world. Her face was calm, but her eyes glowed softly. "Are you okay?" Jason asked. "Yes," she said. "For the first time in years, I feel free." They didn't return to the Alliance station. They knew the Valari would demand answers. Serana would be hunted, maybe even charged with betrayal. Jason would be blamed for breaking the rules of interspecies conduct, so they made a new plan. Serana sent a message to a hidden world in neutral space Alera, a green planet where outcasts, refugees, and freethinkers lived in peace. It was not part of any empire, had no rulers, but it was safe. They landed on Alera 2 days later. The world was beautiful. Forests covered the land, rivers glowed with natural light. Small villages of mixed species lived together in quiet harmony. Serana and Jason found a place to stay. A simple wooden home beside a waterfall. They rested. They healed, and slowly, they began their life together. One evening, they sat on the edge of a high cliff, watching the glowing river below. Jason turned to her. "Do you ever regret it?" She shook her head. "No. The Valari taught me to hide. You taught me to feel." He smiled. "You taught me to believe." They sat in silence, hand in hand. Then Serana said something that surprised him. "There's something I never told you." Jason looked at her. She looked away. "When I was young, I had a sister. She was like me, emotional, curious, wild. But they took her away. They said she was too unstable to become a diplomat. I never saw her again." Jason's heart sank. "She was the one who taught me to laugh," Serana whispered. "She said laughter was our fire. I thought I had lost that fire." Jason pulled her close. You didn't lose it? Shh. It was just waiting. She rested her head on his shoulder. Now I know. Love is not weakness. It's fire and it's freedom. Night, the stars shone brighter than ever. Jason knew the galaxy was still dangerous. They would still face challenges, maybe even battles. But for now, they had each other, and that was enough. Jason and Serana woke to the sound of birds and falling water. The village near the cliffs was quiet and beautiful. People from many worlds lived Horelians with strange colors. Humans with stories, machines with minds of their own. For the first time in years, Serana was smiling more often. Her laughter, once hidden and rare, came freely now. Jason had never heard anything so beautiful. They grew a garden. They taught young children about Earth and Velari cultures. At night, they walked under the twin moons, holding hands, silent and happy. But peace doesn't last forever. One morning, a message arrived on Jason's old communication device. It was from an Alliance officer. A short and serious voice said, "Jason Hart, your presence is requested at the Central Station. Immediately. A diplomatic matter involving the Velari High Command has arisen. You are listed in the dispute. Return at once." Jason read the message twice. Serana sat across the room, watching him. "They found us," she said softly. Jason nodded. "They're trying to pull me in. If I go, they'll arrest me. Maybe use me against you. Then don't go," she said. Jason looked at her. "But if I don't, they'll send soldiers. This place might not stay safe." Serana lowered her eyes. "I can't lose you again," she whispered. "You won't," he replied. "But maybe I can do something different this time." Jason contacted a trusted friend at the Alliance commander Dina Rowe, human officer who once helped Serana stop a pirate invasion. He asked her for help. After some talk, Dina shared secret intel. The Velari High Command was under pressure. Some of their younger leaders were questioning the old laws about emotion and control. There were quiet debates across their homeworld. Some even saw Serana as a symbol of change. "They don't want war," Dina said. "They want control. But many inside their system are watching." Waiting, Jason had an idea. 3 days later, a meeting was announced. It would be held at Neutral Station Voss, a floating space city where no empire held power. The Velari requested a private hearing with Serana and Jason under protection from Alliance guards. Serana was hesitant. "It's a trap," she said. "Maybe," Jason agreed. "But maybe it's our chance." She looked at him. "If we go, we may not come back." He stepped forward and held her face gently. "Then let's go together." They arrived at Station Voss under heavy security. Jason wore his old Terran uniform. Serana wore a silver robe of the Valera, something she had not worn since the day she left her people. The meeting room was large and bright, with tall windows and soft lights. In the center stood 3 high-ranking Velari elders and several guards. Jason and Serana entered, holding hands. Gasps filled the room. One elder, tall male, with silver markings on his forehead, spoke first. "You stand before us, Donovel, accused of betrayal, emotion sharing, and linking minds with an outsider. You have broken Velari laws." Serana looked at him without fear. "I have broken nothing. I have only felt." "Feelings are dangerous," said another elder. "They cloud judgment. They bring chaos." Jason stepped forward. "Feelings saved lives. Serana saved mine. She saved others. Her emotions made her stronger." "You are not Velari," one elder snapped. "I don't have to be," Jason replied. "But your people once taught the galaxy about wisdom. Now you fear what makes you whole." Whispers moved through the room. Some guards looked uncertain. Serana raised her voice. "My sister was taken from me because she felt too much," she said. "I stayed silent. I followed rules. I became what you wanted, but I was empty." She turned to Jason. "Until I met him." She turned back. "Love gave me my strength, my voice, my will to protect." "And now you want to erase that?" The lead elder paused. His voice was low. Your bond threatens our unity. Serana stepped forward. Then maybe your unity needs to be questioned. Suddenly, a door opened. A young Valari woman entered the room. Her skin glowed pale violet, her eyes burning with quiet power. Jason recognized her. Serana froze. Sylra, she whispered. The woman nodded. Double quotes. Yes, sister. Gasps echoed again. Serana stepped forward, stunned. You're alive.
I was.
Taken for cleansing, Syra said, but they failed. I escaped. I've lived in shadows for years. I watched. I waited. And now, others like me are ready to rise. She turned to the elders. Enough silence, enough fear. Let Serana go or face the truth of your broken laws. Half the guards in the room took a step back. The eldest Valari looked at them. Finally, his voice softened. You are not enemies, he said. But we fear what we do not understand. Serana held Jason's hand tightly. Then learn, she said, before you lose your people forever. An hour later, the meeting ended. The elders made no final judgment, but they allowed Serana and Jason to leave without punishment. It was not a full victory, but it was a start. On their way out, Selra walked beside them. We have support now. She whispered, change is coming. Slowly. Serana hugged her tightly. It was the first time Jason had ever seen her cry. Back on Alara, the village welcomed them home with open arms. The people had feared the worst, but now they celebrated. Serana stood before the village and spoke openly, sharing her story, her pain. Her truth Jason watched from the side, heart full. Later, as they sat near their waterfall, Serana turned to him. You gave me courage, she said, without you. I would have stayed silent forever. You gave me purpose, Jason replied. Without you, I'd still be watching from a distance. She smiled. Are you ready? She asked. For what? To build something new. Jason looked at her. Always. That night, as the stars turned overhead, Serana and Jason sat on a hilltop, wrapped in each other's arms. The galaxy still watched. The laws were still harsh, but something had begun a fire, a change, and it started with love. Jason couldn't sleep that night. He lay on the narrow cot inside the small base, staring at the ceiling. His mind replayed the moment again, and again his words. Serana's reaction, her strange laugh, and the sentence she left him with, always. Waiting until it's almost too late? What did she mean? Was she teasing him? Was she angry, or was she hiding something? He turned on his side and stared at the empty bed across the room. Serana had not come back after their talk. She was still in the observatory, probably alone with the stars. Jason sighed and rubbed his face. He had waited 5 years to say those words. 5 years of silence, of working beside her, watching her walk away after each mission, pretending. His heart wasn't screaming every time she smiled at someone else, and when he finally told her, she laughed. The next morning, Jason woke up early. Serana was already awake as usual. She was sitting near the main console, studying the system maps. He walked in slowly, unsure of what to say morning. He said, "Good morning," she replied without looking up. The air felt heavy. He walked over to the corner and started preparing breakfast simple food packs and rehydrated coffee. When it was ready, he placed a cup near her without saying anything. She looked at the cup and then at him. Their eyes met. "Thank you," she said. Jason gave a small nod. He wanted to say more, but he didn't know how. Didn't want to ruin things even more. They ate in silence. Later that day, they worked outside to inspect the solar panels. The cold wind from the moon's thin atmosphere blew over them as they moved carefully across the surface in their light suits. Jason decided to try again. "I meant what I said," he said quietly through the combs. Serana didn't respond at first. "I know," she finally said. "You don't say things you don't mean." He waited, hoping she would say more, but she didn't. That night, something changed. After they finished their tasks, Serana asked Jason if he wanted to go out to the observation dome again, surprised but curious. Jason agreed. They sat down on the floor beside the large window. The stars above them shone bright. 2 moons of the nearby planet floated above the horizon. It was quiet, peaceful. Jason glanced at her. She had taken off her outer robe, revealing a light gray suit beneath. Her silver-blue skin shimmered faintly. In the starlight, her hair was tied back loosely. She looked softer than usual. "Do you know why I laughed last night?" she asked suddenly. Jason blinked. "I've been wondering that all day." She looked out the window again. "In my culture," she began, "feelings are dangerous. Not because they make us weak, but because they make us powerful." Jason stayed quiet, listening. "When I was a child," she continued, "I showed too much emotion. I cried when I lost something. I laughed too loudly when I was happy. My teachers said I was unstable. They trained it out of me. Every day I was told to be calm, cold, silent. They said emotions would destroy my path." Jason felt a weight in his chest. "Did you believe them?" he asked. "For a long time, yes," she said. "Then I met you." His heart jumped. "You. We're so different," she said, her voice softer now. "You joked with enemies. You laughed during missions. You got angry at injustice. And you cared. You cared so deeply, even when no one else did." Jason's breath caught. "The first time I saw you," she whispered, "you were holding a dying plant in the hallway garden. You thought no one was watching. You were trying to save it, even though it had no use, no value." He remembered that day. Small earth flower had been accidentally placed in a Valari climate pod. It was dying, and he tried to help. He didn't know anyone had seen him. "I watched you for years," she said. "And slowly, I started to feel again. Not all at once, but quietly inside. And I hated it. I thought I was broken." Jason shook his head. "You were never broken." "Fought those feelings," she said. "I buried them. I told myself it was just admiration, respect, nothing more." Jason swallowed. "But when you said those words last night," she said, turning to look at him, "I laughed because I was relieved, afraid, and angry at myself for waiting so long." Her eyes glowed faintly now, a sign of Valari emotion. She was not hiding anymore. "I've loved you too," she said. Jason felt like the stars had gone quiet. Everything around them disappeared. You have," he whispered. She nodded. "Since the burned world. Since Solaran V, since you shielded that alien child with your own body during the attack." He remembered that mission. It nearly died. "I thought you didn't care," he said. "You were so calm afterward. I was terrified," she said. "But I couldn't show it. I never could." Jason reached out slowly. His hand touched hers. To his surprise, she didn't pull away instead. Her fingers closed around his. "I don't want to hide anymore," she said. "Neither do I," he said. They sat there like that, hand in hand, under the twin moons. The next morning, they began preparing for the return shuttle. The base was fixed, and their mission was complete. But everything felt different now. They worked side by side. But now there were small smiles, gentle touches, quiet looks. At one point, Jason paused while fixing a console and asked, "What happens now?" Serana looked thoughtful. "We return to the station. We do our duties. But we don't go back to hiding." Jason smiled. "You really ready for that?" She stepped closer. "I don't know what the galaxy will say, what my people will do. But yes, I'm ready." Suddenly, a loud alert rang through the base. They rushed to the console. A Valari High Command vessel had entered orbit. Its signal was marked urgent. Serana's face changed. The light in her eyes dimmed. "They know," she said quietly. Jason frowned. "Know what?" She turned to him, voice steady but low. "They felt the change in me. They've detected emotional signals. The link I used during the summit." Jason stood still. "What will they do?" Serana looked away. "They'll want to question me. Maybe cleanse my mind." Jason felt anger rising. "Cleanse? You mean erase what you feel?" "It's a tradition," she said. Emotions are considered dangerous. They believe I've been corrupted. By me, Jason said bitterly. No, Serana said, turning to him. By love. The next hour was chaos. The Valari ship demanded she board immediately. Serana was calm, but Jason saw the fear. In her eyes, he tried calling the Human Alliance command, but there was no time. The Valari ship was already lowering a transport beam. I'll go, Serana said quietly. If I refuse, they'll attack. Jason stepped forward. I'm going with you. Serana shook her head. They won't allow it. I don't care. Before she could argue, he pressed a signal button on his wrist. A hidden beacon activated Jason's personal escape plan, a stealth pod hidden nearby. If they take you, he said, I'll follow. Her eyes softened. Why? He stepped close. Because I've loved you for years, and now that you finally know, I won't lose you. The beam surrounded her body. She reached out. Their fingers touched one last time. Then she was gone. Jason stood alone in the quiet base, but his heart was not silent anymore. Tomorrow, he would enter Valari space. The sun rose slowly over the hills of Alera. Its golden light spread across the forest, the rivers, and the small village where humans and aliens lived together in peace. Inside a wooden home beside the waterfall, Jason Hart opened his eyes. The bed beside him was empty, but still warm. He sat up and smiled. He already knew where Serana was. He stepped outside barefoot, the cool grass under his feet. The smell of flowers and wet leaves filled the air. Birds with glowing feathers flew past him. He followed a small path down to the cliff edge. There she stood, Serana, wrapped in a light robe, her silver-blue skin shining in the morning light. Her long hair moved with the breeze. She was quiet, eyes fixed on the sky. Jason walked up behind her and gently wrapped his arms around her waist. You're up early, he said softly. I was thinking, she replied. Today's the 1 year. Mark? Jason blinked. 1 year since what? She smiled. Since you said those words. Jason chuckled. You mean I've loved you for years? She nodded. And you laughed at me, he teased. She turned to face him, and then I fell with you. Jason smiled. It's the best fall of my life. The past year had not been easy, but it had been meaningful. After their meeting on Station Voss, news spread across Valari space. Serana's speech had been recorded by a hidden observer, leaked to the public, and the galaxy listened. Young Valeri began asking questions. Secret support groups formed. Motions once feared became subjects of open debate. The old High Command tried to stop it, but change had begun, and it could not be silenced. Serana's sister, Tirana, became a leader of the emotional freedom movement inside Valari society. She taught others how to balance logic with feeling, control with honesty. Serana didn't return to politics. Instead, she chose a different path with Jason. Together, they became teachers and guides on Alera, helping others from different species learn how to live together, how to share truth and emotion. Without fear, people from many worlds came to them, Valari youth, lost humans, wounded diplomats, and curious travelers. Jason and Serana listened, shared, and taught. They had become something more than diplomats. They had become symbols of unity. One day, a small group of children ran into their garden. Teacher Serana, Teacher Jason, shouted. Jason came out, wiping his hands on a towel. What is it, troublemakers? A young Valari girl stepped forward. There's a new ship, landing near the river.
Aye.
We've never seen one like it. Jason and Serana looked at each other. Let's go, Serana said. They walked down the trail toward the river, where a strange silver ship had landed. It was sleek, tall, and humming with quiet power. As they arrived, the ship's door opened. Valari elders stepped out, wearing new robes white, marked with soft blue symbols of change. Behind him stood a group of mixed-species diplomats. Jason's muscles tensed. Should we be worried? But Serana raised her hand. No. Look at the robes. The elder stepped forward and bowed. Seranavel. Bow. Jason Hart. I come not as your Enemy but, as a voice of peace. Serana tilted her head. Why now? Because we've been listening, the elder said. Because silence is ending, and because we need your help. He stepped aside, revealing a young Valari boy behind him. This child, the elder continued, was born with unusual mind patterns. In the past, we would have taken him away, but not anymore. He looked at Jason and Serana. Teach him, guide him, let him grow with both logic and love. Serana's face softened. Jason bent down to the boy's level. What's your name, little one? The boy looked nervous. Revan. Jason smiled. Well, Revan, welcome to our wild, peaceful world. The elder placed a hand over his heart and bowed again. Thank you for opening the door. We never dared to open ourselves. Then he turned, walked back to the ship, and left. Over the next few weeks, more came. Not just children, but thinkers, teachers, and even soldiers. People who wanted to feel, to live with both strength and softness. A small learning center was built near the waterfall. Jason helped build the walls. Serana chose the plants, and the children filled it with laughter. One evening, as stars filled the sky, Serana stood at the front of the new center and spoke to her first group of students. I once believed that hiding your heart was the only way to survive, she said. But now, I know a silent heart cannot protect anything. Love is not weakness. It is light. It is a weapon. And it is a home. Jason stood beside her and added, I followed her into danger. She followed me into love. Now we walk together. Crowd clapped. Some wept. Even the stars above seemed to shine brighter. Later that night, after the guests had left and the fires went out, Jason and Serana sat near the river, their feet in the cool water. Jason turned to her. Do you ever miss the station? Sometimes, she said, but not the person I was there. He looked at her. Who are you now? She smiled. I am a woman who laughed when a human said he loved her. Jason laughed too. And I'm the human who almost fainted when she laughed. They leaned close, their foreheads touching. Serana, he said, I'm glad I waited. She kissed him softly. And I'm glad I didn't laugh louder. 1 week later, a message arrived from Earth. The Humanitarian Council invited Jason and Serana to speak at the first ever Unity Conference. Leaders from over 50 species would be there, they accepted. At the conference, Serana stood before the crowd. Cameras from across the galaxy focused on her. She took a deep breath. I was taught that love was weakness, she said. But I have learned something greater. Love is the bridge between minds and worlds. She turned toward Jason. This human changed my life. Not with force, not with war, but with patience and with words. Jason stood beside her, and this alien, he said, showed me that even the coldest stars can carry warmth. The crowd rose in applause. The message spread far and wide. And slowly, new bridges began to form. Years passed, Jason and Serana grew older, but their fire never faded. Their center became a beacon of learning. The waterfall behind their home was now known as the Falls of Feeling. Children from every world came to learn how to balance logic and emotion, science and heart. One evening, as a cool breeze danced through the trees, Jason sat on a bench with Serana beside him, watching the stars. He held her hand. Do you still remember that night? He asked. Which one? She asked softly. The night I told you, he said, that I loved you. She smiled. I remember that you laughed. She laughed again, now with joy. Yes. And I would laugh again. Jason kissed her. Hand. Good. They sat in silence for a long time, wrapped in memory and peace. Above them, stars continued to shine, watching, listening, glowing with quiet approval.